We think we know what this job is.
Help! Officer down, officer down.
Until we get that one call.
Hey guys, it's Liam Crowley with Screen Rant. Thanks for taking the time.
Liam, good morning.
Good morning. On the West Coast. It's a good afternoon on the East Coast. I'm over.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Nice.
Playing with time zones here. Troian, I want to start with you. The trailer for the show opens with one of the greatest sales pitch lines I've ever heard for a TV show, which is, "We think we know what this job is until we get that one call." The one call that happened for your character, how did that impact her? How did that change the trajectory of her career?
That's an excellent question. Thank you so much. I think you have an idea, I imagine, as this character, you have an idea going into this job, and it's what Diaz shows up with on the first day, an idea of how you can make a change, how you can impact a community, who you can be in this job. And then for Tracy, she gets that call, and I don't want to spoil it, you'll have to watch the season, but when she gets that call, she realizes that you can't always have the effect that you want, and you have to do the job anyways. And I think that is, I think in a way it cracked her open, and she had to sort of build back the pieces so that she could go back out into the field and continue to do her job. And I think that that's exactly what we get to witness in Diaz, that Brandon brings so beautifully to the portrayal of this character. We witness his character being cracked open and his expectations being cracked open. And we watch as he begins to build himself back up to understand who he's going to be in this job.
Yeah, that's very beautifully put. And Brandon, your character of Officer Diaz comes into this job with a lot of optimism. But as you mentioned, when those cracks happen, that's when the optimism can kind of seep out a little bit. How, if at all, does Officer Diaz maintain that optimism throughout this career?
That's a great question. I think that's actually something that he himself is wondering. There are times where the job, I'm sure for him, is super fulfilling, where he feels like, okay, I made a difference today. And then I'm sure there are other times where he's questioning every single decision, what could I have done differently? So I think that that's a question that really can't be answered. I think that's a question that every single time he steps out, onto the field, he's asking himself that question on a daily basis. And that, depending on how that day went, his answer might be different depending on how that day went.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. One final question to wrap with you both, and I want you to kind of follow me on this one here. You guys, your characters are both on such different trajectories. We have a veteran in the force. We have a rookie who's just getting into this career. And I feel like even if Officer Diaz hasn't got that one call that I mentioned earlier, he can kind of lose that optimism just by being associated with a character who has got that one call. And, we are a product of our environment. But on the flip side, Troian, I feel like maybe Diaz's optimism could build your character back up. So when we look at that dynamic, I know a lot of setup for this question. How do you think your characters kind of balance each other out in that way, bring each other back to equilibrium?
Oh, I think you really summed it up, and that is perfectly what happens in the first season. You know what I mean? Is Diaz shows up with a number of expectations, and Harmon has got to shape him and mold him so that he is capable of going out into the force and doing good and staying safe. And I think the flip side is that because I've been in this job for 12 years, and because I have the beliefs that I have, and they're sort of concretized, I've had to concretize them. I've had to compartmentalize these things. And so when Diaz shows up and he has a fresh way of approaching things, it forces Tracy to consider a new approach. And I think, what's really beautiful is that we have two very present, they don't get a lot of screen time because we're so busy as characters in our job, but we have two very active, very present family lives. And I think what's really cool is that you get to watch the way Diaz interacts with his family and how that influences Harmon.
And vice versa, yeah.
For sure. So you're right, they are learning from each other, and he's, forcing her to get a new perspective on things.
Big time. They gave me the rap, you guys, but thank you for some very insightful analytical responses. I'm really excited for audiences to check this one out.
Thank you for such well thought out questions, man.
Yeah.
He's my new trainee. Is he cool? Jury's still out.